So the Torpedo Bat,
Yeah.
where do you stand with that right now? Cal, so we're doing this again, and this time we are from the road. I know that there has already been one road trip, but this is a real road trip. The other one was just kind of an away and a back. What would you rate this day here in Cincinnati on the scouting scale of 20 to 80?
Right now, honestly, it doesn't get much better than this. You know, it's there's a slight chill in the air, but sun's out, little breeze. You know, not too cold. I think with the sun out, it's perfect here.
Good catcher weather, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. When do you get a schedule at the beginning? I don't know. How much do you check the schedule when it first comes out the year before?
When it first comes out, I just check and see if there's, you know, any crazy kind of times as far as like when we go places, or you always check like the really hot places. Like, so like for instance, like August, September, you look and see where you're playing, if you're playing a bunch of indoor places, or if you're playing, you know, maybe up north a little bit where it's a little cooler, West Coast. You know, you look for certain dates of, you know, am I going to be, you know, closer to my family on these dates, blah, blah. Are we going to have a lot of East Coast, West Coast road trips, or kind of look for those things, and you look for those specific little things that kind of, you know, every ballpark kind of looks for, you know, off days.
Right.
You know, how many off days do we have? Are they later? Are they earlier? Or are they kind of spread out? So you look at it a little bit, and then obviously you're in season, so you're like, all right, just put it on the back burner, and then you kind of look at it again next spring training.
So you look at it mainly for comfortability as far as temperatures go, it sounds like, and where the family is maybe?
Yeah. I think a lot of that, you know, we try to look and see, you know, how many big East Coast trips we have, and if we're going back, or are we getting a bunch of you know, teams in at once, like this road trip. You know, we're here, Cincy, Toronto, Boston, so we're knocking out a good 3 chunk here, rather than having to fly across country, you know, from a West Coast east and then back west. So you know, it works out a little more in our favor when we can knock a few teams out in a row on the road from, you know, not being too far away.
What's the coolest thing you've gotten to do on an off day?
I tell you what, Adam Frazier, who we had a couple of years ago, was the king of off days. You know, he always had stuff planned out and set up dinners, set up golf times, you know, stuff like that. So I've got to golf some really nice courses on some off days, you know, depending on, you know, what point of the season it is, and, you know, if I'm healthy or not. Obviously, if I'm not, I can't do it, but, you know, I love getting out there and, you know, doing that, or getting on the water. You know, I've been out on a boat a few times, try to do that. Fishing up in Seattle. It's been a lot of fun. I met somebody up there, and he took me out. So really just trying to get away from baseball as much as you can for that one day.
That helps when you get off of land altogether, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Good plan right there. How about packing a suitcase? Are you like super organized? Do you have it down to a system yet?
I've gotten better over the years. You know, I wouldn't say I'm the best packer per se, but I'm really good at you know, planning ahead a little bit. So not packing the night before, and trying to pack a little ahead of time, and planning that. And my biggest problem is overpacking. So I always, you know, I pack that extra shirt or the extra pair of socks that I don't really need, but I'm like, oh, well, you never know. And you really, you know, out of all the road trips, maybe once or twice, you know, you actually do need that extra thing. So, yeah, my problem is overpacking, but I could definitely pack a little less. That's my thing. And I think a lot of people have that problem. So
you have this look on your face like you're kicking yourself for. It's like it's something that you just want to get like down. You want to nail it.
Every time. I've thought about just completely keeping one suitcase at the field full time, and just that be my road suitcase, and I just wear the same stuff on the road all year long. And I thought that might just be an easier way to do it. That way I never have to pack. I could just leave it at the field. I just would be wearing the same stuff on the road all year long, which it wouldn't bother me, but I think that is an idea. So
You might
it's
let the
out there.
people down. I mean, if you're wearing the same thing we wouldn't see the cowboy hat, I mean.
I know. I've talked to the clubbies a little bit about it, and they think it's a good idea. So
Okay.
we'll see.
All right, we'll keep our eyes open for that. Hey, in Cincinnati, something that comes to mind are great catchers. And you had a chance at the Gold Glove ceremony to meet one of the best who played right here. What did you get from your conversation with Johnny Bench?
Oh, it was great. It was a lot of fun to get to talk to him. First of all, he's great conversation, and he has these huge hands. Just shaking his hand, you're like, oh my gosh, they're engulf mine, and he's just so strong. Even still to this day, you can imagine when he was playing, how strong he was and built, and but yeah, he just had great conversation just about obviously what it's like. He gets it, being a catcher, taking care of your body, what he did, what he liked to do, and he just loved talking about baseball. He loved talking about situations, runners in scoring position, handling staff, things like that. So very old school, very hard nosed, and it was something I definitely won't forget. And he has some really good stories as well. So.
Did you get to introduce your dad to him or talk to him or anything like that?
My dad, yeah, he got
That
to
probably
talk to
had
him a little
pretty
bit.
cool.
Yeah. So my dad actually met him before. So
Okay.
Dave Bristol, who was the manager here for a while, he grew up kind of where I'm from, and he got to meet Johnny Bench a few times because he would come out to my dad's practices. Dave Bristol would. So got to meet him a few times.
Outstanding. What was the takeaway you had from talking to him?
I think the biggest thing was just talking to him. Obviously, I think the thing that sticks out was talking about runners in scoring position, and what he was trying to accomplish, and then taking care of your body, and just understanding you're not always going to feel good, and something that I've heard before, but him explaining that, and you're not always going to be 23 and in prime. So but just getting to talk to him about that, and getting his perspective was amazing.
Yeah, they took some hits back then too. Did you ask about any of those before the rules were in place?
He got smacked a few times. So yeah, the new rules, you don't see as many of those collisions anymore. So he I mean, even you can think back to like P.R.O's in the All-Star game running over. I mean,
Right.
Can you imagine if somebody
All-Star game.
Can you imagine if that happened in this day and age, where somebody runs over somebody in an All-Star game? Like, the world would end. It's crazy.
Perhaps rightly so at this point.
Jeez.
Stand up for those catchers. You don't see it coming in that situation, so that totally would not be fair. Another great catcher who played in this area, somebody that you know very well, back in 1992, a youngster, 23, 24-year-old by the name of Dan Wilson, debuted for the Cincinnati Reds. Not in this building, but real close. These two overlapped a little bit. Can you envision what a 23-year-old first-year rookie Dan Wilson was like?
No, it's kind of hard, I did get to talk to, I was golfing the other day with one of our clubbies, and he was around when Dan was playing. I was like, hey, what's Dan like, or what was Dan like as a player? He was like the exact same he is right now as a manager, like awesome. Everybody loved him, great personality, good guy to be around, and I thought that I was obviously a little later in his career, at the end of Dan's career here in Seattle. So, but yeah, a lot of people do forget he was drafted here, and he started his career here. And I know it's kind of weird to think back, coaches playing, but we do forget sometimes that they've been around for a while, and they used to do it as well. So
they did. He had a very tough manager. Did he ever tell you stories about how Lou Piniella could be pretty tough on him?
I've heard a few over the years, and it's probably a little different back then than it is now. So,
what would your reaction be if you saw half of the stuff that you've heard about?
I love it, honestly. I think it's so cool listening to stories, and I love asking people about the old days, and sometimes I wish that was the case, just because back then it was a little more low key, not as much phones, and a little more nitty gritty baseball, but but there's definitely pros and cons to both to nowadays and back then. So back then it was a little harder, and a little trying to think of the word. A little different back then, I guess. So.
Definitely a little different. Definitely old school.
Yeah.
No question about it. Hey, so the Torpedo Bat.
Yeah.
Where do you stand with that right now?
I think my big take on the bat, it doesn't feel any different in my hand. It honestly feels pretty similar to the bat that I've been swinging. Just, obviously it's birch, and I use maple, so I've switched obviously to that. And but it feels balanced like my other bat does. It's just obviously a bigger barrel. A lot of people don't, if you're not in baseball, you don't really understand, but there's regulations on maple bats because of the way they break and the low density. So it's a safety thing, for when you break them. You don't want pitchers get hit or a position player because they break so easy when they're shaped a certain way and the barrel's too big. So they have to keep the maples a little smaller, whereas ash or birch, you get to make the barrel a lot bigger because the density, and it's not going to break like a maple would, and it's a lot safer. So they figured out if you can use birch, you can make a massive, kind of barrel in a different spot without holding it down like that. So in the regulations, so it feels good in my hand. Doesn't feel any different. I've talked to some guys. They're like, yeah, it doesn't feel different. So, but if it's working, it's working. So I'm gonna keep using it, and I definitely, I think it's working right now. So I use it left-handed. I tried it a little bit right-handed. I don't know if I like it as much on the right side, just because I like it a little more top-heavy and it's a little more balanced. So we'll see.
I was going to say, do you use different bats from different sides?
Yeah.
Okay, how different? What are?
Yeah, so my left-handed bat is it's a little longer and a little lighter. Right-handed one's a little shorter, a little heavier, and just the weight distribution. So left-handed, I like a balanced bat. I actually picked up Dylan Moore's back in 2022, and that's where I started using it. He's the one who kind of got me on it. So yeah, balanced bat, and it's a little more flared knob. And right-handed, I started using a little more top-heavy bat, so like the weight's more at the end of the bat, just because I get a little more flat from the right side. So and it's got a little more traditional type knob. So yeah, that's kind of what I've liked over the past couple of years, and it's been good to me. So
Are they the same weight?
no, lefty, they're not much different. They're 0.25 ounces.
That's something you don't really feel. It's more the distribution that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, I think my left one's actually technically a little lighter than my right, but yeah, it's not much. You really more notice like where the weight is in the bat. So.
Okay. All right. We'll keep an eye on it. So far, so good. Glad you packed them.
Well, yeah.
Lastly, you get to be a villain this weekend. How much do you look forward to going to Toronto?
A villain. Yeah. No. I think in general, you remember those places that you have good memories from, and obviously good memories there with us. Going there in 22 and winning a wild card series there. So I think that's the first thing you remember.
Yeah.
You remember all those places and getting to celebrate there, and you remember, those are memories that you'll never forget. So I think that's number one. And you always obviously, like, as baseball players, you know yourself, and places you like to hit, places you don't like to hit, pitchers, non-pitchers. So they have a good team. They really do. They're always solid. They always compete well, and they have tough arms. So it's always fun playing there because it's challenging, and they're really good staff. So I think that always brings out the best of me. When we're playing, those really good teams, really good arms, and it's challenging, and they got a tough environment to play in. So I think that's kind of what brings the best out of a lot of guys. Honestly, they like that challenge, they like that opportunity, and you look at different places throughout the league, that have those tough environments, and we're definitely going to be seeing a few here in the next couple series as well, going to Boston and Toronto. So
good to get it early and get that going.
Yeah, get the competitive juices flowing. So
all right.
Yeah.
Cal, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.